Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of What If Civilization Started Over. In the last episode, we saw a couple events happen that I totally remember. The only one I actually remember is right here, where we saw the Great Empire forcefully annex the Yellow Team. There wasn't like any war or anything that went on. Yeah. Um, E- Ethiopia invaded the red country that was right here. That was that's it that I remember. So, if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get. Alright, so we're going to be. We'll start off down here in South Africa. Tensions still brewing. Everyone thinks this is going to be the next major war. But tension, there's well, now we do see West France is starting to get involved over here. Um, Mainly just because West France has two colonies. Um, so we see West France is, it's not really clear who they're kind of aiding. They're kind of giving they're secretly giving aid to everyone, but we're gonna move a little away from that and move here. So, unless you never saw episode 21, which was World War One's peace treaty, you would know that America, it's yellow Texas-ish country, green Mexico, or maybe West Mexico, whatever you want to call it, red Mexican country, the Caribbean island nation, and Central America. They all came from the Catalonian North American Empire collapse, or the colony collapsed. It started off in America and spread out. But basically, all of these countries claim they are the country that should rule over all of this. America has the best claim because they're the one that started everything down here. Although the first um there's three different countries that have or four different countries that have a good claim. America, we just said. West Mexico is where the first revolts actually started happening, but a full-on revolution started in America first. Down in Mexico, this is where Catalonia focused most of its resources at. So it's the most developed. Only reason America has more development is now because they're allied with the Great Lakes Empire, who is the fourth oldest, no, third oldest country in the, or they're second oldest country in the world. Ethiopia's first. Switzerland died off for a little. Um, and then the last one is Caribbean, the Caribbean islands. Theirs is the weakest, but it's they well initially most actually if not all of their country was it actually part of Switzerland. They claim that Switzerland was actually the first one to set up colonies, and technically it's partially true. Although Switzerland was the first country that actually like sent settlers over. Um, Catalonia just staked the claim over here. They didn't actually send any settlers. But Switzerland's settlers were all in America. So they all fight about it. Central America, they've got they've got part um Danish, Catalonian, and Swiss. So they're just all over. And then Texas has the worst claim of it. They just say, we're the center. We should be the ones that rule over everything. But this is gonna brew tensions over here. And yeah, the world is not feeling safe right now. You've got terrorists, two areas with major countries meddling with them. So over here you've got Switzerland with the Caribbean and the Great Lakes Empire with America. And down here you got West France and Ethiopia. So the world tensions are brewing dramatically. But now we move on over here. Something that happened in the last episode, or I think it was the last episode, was the RPGAU nations found a quote unquote loophole to things. So the RPGAU is not allowed to fully exist. The countries aren't allowed to unite with one another. So what a couple of the countries did was invade their weaker counterparts. And it kind of works. They're like, fine, you guys got the good empires, like, you guys found this loophole. We're gonna still say it's no, but I guess but they're kind of allowed to do it because it wasn't officially staked. But we see this loophole continuing out as the Yemen country right here will invade up into Mecca. They take over some of the, or they take over this whole southern part of the country, and for long, not before long, it is all fallen. Turn to the capitals, so we can erase there. I gotta get rid of all the countries so fell. The capitals. Alright. So the green team gets all of that. Nope. Green team gets all of that. Now we see other countries will also get in on this loophole. As the orange team will invade into the blue team. And these countries went from unionizing to now they all hate each other, but still want to be part, or they still all want to be one nation. Um, and then as the orange team invades south, we see the purple team invading Mesopotamia, but this time they're not the only ones invading. As the Great Empire, hoping to put a stop to these countries doing this, will invade south into Mesopotamia, taking over the capital very quickly. And, well, none of these guys like this. They're like, we're the countries down here. We should be the ones that are doing all of this. You shouldn't be messing with our area, with our region. And then these guys say, well, you guys are in Mesopotamia, and we're also in Mesopotamia, so we should have the right to do this. So, so we see the Persian Gulf country will move up, or the Kuwait nation move up to take over the rest of this. And then the Great Empire is like, if you don't get out of this territory, we're gonna start attacking your troops. And the Kuwaitians, Kuwaitian, Kuwaitians, I don't know. They're like, we're not gonna leave. We were invading these guys first. We should have all their territory. And it eventually comes out, and the Great Empire will start invading into the country. For example. And as you can see, yeah, they're invading into the actual Persian, or the actual, country. I can't, so, so, we see them continue their invasion south here, and then we see from here, Persia and the green team are like, wait, we're in a alliance. We're in an alliance with Ethiopia. You just declared war on Ethiopia then. And Ethiopia's like, well, yes, but we're just gonna ditch you guys because we're not getting involved with the Great Empire despite us actually being weaker than them still. I don't know why I don't know why I thought Ethiopia was the stronger country. But this is starting to kind of turn out like the Holy Russian Empire in Ada's Proswick. So if you know what that was like, you know what that was like. Um, so these countries, so we see all of these countries will trying to start fighting against these guys, and like they're they're not probably getting support. They're definitely getting support from Ethiopia, even though Ethiopia said they're not going to do anything here. It's going weird. But we see other countries also openly admit that we don't like the or we don't like the Great Empire, so we're gonna join Ethiopia and help out these guys. Such countries are the Indians. Down here we see this African country, and then lastly, and probably the biggest one, Myanmar. Or not, that's Myanmar. Bangladesh will join. And now Tibet and Pakistan are really worried. Like, these two countries right on our border just joined up against an enemy or with an enemy. We don't like this. So they're gonna try and recruit like by call. Historically, these two have had decent relations, but like by call's not answering. They're kind of going into an isolationist state. There's they've got terrorists to their north. They're trying to deal with that. But we also see other countries not in the Crossroad Triangle alliances also start to do some things over here. For example, Switzerland. They're not directly aiding Ethiopia, but they're still kind of supplying Persia. And it's starting to become a bit of a proxy war, but not entirely. And none of these other countries are going to invade into the Great Empire. All of the countries are just like, we're not going to fight you directly, we're just going to fight you down here. But it's actually starting to work as these countries begin to push up around the Persian capital. It still remains under Great Empire control. However, now all these troops are stuck here, and they really can't get out anywhere. Av- Aviation technology is not entirely too good, and they have like anti-aircraft stuff, so it it's not going good for these probably almost 300, 400,000 troops. And eventually they all just have to flee out in different directions, hoping they make it back. A majority of them do, but they're pursued by all of these extra forces that are up here. And eventually Persia is going to start to re-enter into Mesopotamia. yeah, the second strongest country in the world is getting beat back by a couple of countries who they already have defeated as united, or when they were united. This area here falls to the Persians, or the Croatians, and eventually the Great Empire is like, you know what? If we give you Mesopotamia, you guys have to stop invading each other. So, Croatians, they're gonna agree to this instantly. And these guys are like, alright, just give us 10 days. And in those very 10 days, the orange team, which completely wipes out the blue team. And like always, Bing and Ding. Alright, so now, um, they're from the RPGAU's original, however many countries that I definitely remember, there are now 6 left. The Yemen country, the Qatar Emirate nation, and then you have the Croatians, who I'm actually just going to call Mesopotamia, because that's going to be easier for me. Where? And then you have the Persians. Oh man, no. Alright, so you then have the Persians, and then you have Pakistan and Tibet, who left the RPGAU a while ago, but nobody really cared about them in the first place, because this doesn't really involve them much. Alright, actually, we're going to be sticking around here, as Qatar is actually going to become more Emirati nation, as they will move their capital to this major city to kind of get better control over here. It's just for their benefit. But we will go on to see one more map change in this episode, and that actually deals with Gibraltar. So recently, Gibraltar had taken over these 3 major islands from the Italians. But going on to the religion map, we can see that they're not really following the same religion, and that's also true for some other countries around them. So what we see happening is, since Gibraltar is kind of having some issues trying to control these, they will, other than a little bit around some major cities, they're going to release these. So we'll take a look at what this will all look like. Alright, so here we see how this is gonna look. We see Gibraltar will hold on to these 2 provinces in Sardinia and Corsica, whereas everything else will become one nation. And then down here, we see Gibraltar holding on to this westernmost province. It's the closest to them. But then we see things change up a bit. Rome will be getting this from Gibraltar. Even Catalonia will get over Sicily, and the Carthaginian nation will get Sicily. That was Sardinia. Damn, does that look like Libya's color? Let me make the. That looks. Alright, but now we're gonna take a look. Capitals go. And I'm sure you've probably already figured out. Obviously, for the blue country, they have two options, and one is much more central than the other is. And for the red country, they only have one major city, so they're going to put it there. But this isn't the only spot where we see this happening, as collectively, we see two Cross Alliance members are pretty much forced to give up some land. Well, they'll do, they'll have to do it together, obviously. It starts off as um, we see the Grecian island right here gets released by the um, Adriatic Union. I could not remember what I called this guy. And then we see the Great Empire release that as well. And now we have three small Mediterranean island nations, right? Wrong, we have four. Malta gets released on its own. Yep, tiny Malta. So going on to capitals, where these countries will have to put their capitals there. And even for Malta, they'll make a new major city, which is right there. Alright, but now we move on to the final event, which is over here, as we officially see West Mexico begins to invade into the yellow Texan-ish team. It's a small invasion to start, but there's quite a few areas where they invade into. Don't forget also, West Mexico is very strong. I think it's top 20 power, if I'm not mistaken. No, but it's definitely top 30. They have been top 20 before, but they're not the only ones that would be invading. As we also see the yellow team, despite Mexico being an actual top 20 power, even being 17th, we see Mexico is invaded by this yellow team, who may or may not have support from an outside nation. And just because it has to continue, everybody knows this, we see Mexico will invade into West Mexico, their invasion being the biggest out of all of these. Yeah, well, having the singular biggest. But that will do it for today's episode of What If Civilization Started Over. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.